Welcome to the Integration Station. I'm Ashley Michaud, your coach. It's all happening. Hello and welcome, you beautiful souls. It's Ashley here from Elemental Growth, and I brought a wonderful friend, Miss Cresencia Dr. Felty. I don't even know. Cresencia is your name. Dr. Felty is your title, but I didn't know how to introduce you. Sorry, I guess we should talk about that before. My bad. Regardless, I really wanted to have you here. I've been just following your story. We've been in touch for years now. I feel like, so much has happened in this time. Both of us growing alongside of each other. And I really knew that your story, your experience working with the medicines, your experience with self-healing, your experience going out on your own, changing your environment, changing your work, changing everything would really help a lot of other people that are maybe feeling stuck or scared in this space. And so I really wanted to introduce you to the community for anybody who hasn't met you yet. And also just to share what's new and good with anybody who has had that opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it. Hello, everyone, wherever you are.
So, how do we want to start this? Just let everyone know, like, where you started, like what inspired you to become a doctor in the first place?
Okay, so what inspired me to become a doctor in the first place was through my own illness. I had, at 14, I was diagnosed with an incurable inflammatory bowel disease called ulcerative colitis. It was very painful. I had lots of symptoms. I was in and out of the hospital. I was on a lot of medications. They gave me a lot of different kinds of medications. When the medications would fail, they recommended to remove part of my stomach and my colon to help with the symptoms. And I never really got answers. I never really got education on healing. And after so many years of pain and in and out of the hospital and procedures and side effects, which I'm grateful because this medicine, emergency medicine really helped me. But when it came to the chronic symptoms, I wasn't really being helped. No one was really teaching me what to eat, how to take care of my body, how to breathe, why I even developed this disease in the first place. No one really understood. And so it really fueled me to start looking at alternatives. It fueled me to look at natural medicine. And really it was my mom. She went to a natural health food store and said, my daughter's really sick. They want to remove her stomach. What can we do to start healing her stomach naturally? And they gave her aloe vera juice. They gave her some digestive enzymes to help me digest my food. And this was all new. We've never gone to like a natural health food store prior to this. I didn't even know what aloe was back then. And that's what fueled me to then start looking at diet and lifestyle. And when I moved to Chicago, a lot of people around me, I was working at a gym, they really started teaching me how to work out, go to a chiropractor, go see an acupuncturist, maybe start taking herbs, get off processed foods. At that time, I was eating a highly processed diet. And so that's really what led me slowly, is really just trying to heal myself and calm down any symptoms that were really angry. They were really loud. It was debilitating. I lost jobs in the past because of how much I had to call off of work. And I know a lot of people who have inflammatory bowel disease struggle with this, even to the point where they actually have to be on disability and not work at all. So that's really the path that led me to, okay, let me learn about chiropractic, let me start taking vitamins. And then I went to chiropractic school at first. But when I was there, I really fell in love with internal medicine, nutrition, using food as medicine. And they had a naturopathic medical program there. I never even heard of naturopathy before. But as I started learning about it and understanding how this medicine has been in existence for 200 to 400 years, And really all of our ancestors were using this kind of medicine of plants and diet and breathing and emotional healing and removing the things that are making you sick, which it seems so logical, but right now in our current paradigm, we're so far removed from that. It's like, oh, you're sick, let's turn off those symptoms. Your body's not working right. But the body's, you know this, right? It's so intelligent that our body speaks through symptoms. It's trying to talk to us. It's trying to help us. And I've learned that through naturopathic medical school, becoming a naturopathic doctor. And then that's really what led me to start learning about mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, and how these are the foundation to the physical. So honestly, Ashley, the very first thing that really helped me significantly was doing an emotional release ceremony, writing a letter to my parents of all the things that I was resentful for, all the things that I really was angry about, that I was holding on to. I had a natural medicine doctor tell me, why don't we start here? Why don't we remove some of this emotional weight that is eating you up inside? And it was after that I really saw a huge difference. And then combining that with diet changes, my symptoms went away. I started getting off medications and weaned myself off. And it's been 11, 12 years now, medicine free. I've never had surgery. So I like to really credit this kind of medicine. And that's what led me on this journey. And that's when I started learning about psychedelics too, is in my naturopathic medical program when I was in my internship and clinical residency. I had friends who introduced me to a psychedelic meetup group in Chicago where psychiatrists were getting together, learning about the research, learning about what was coming out, and understanding all these really incredible results for anxiety and depression and OCD and PTSD. And that's really what ignited my interest, because I have a lot of those things too, and then going to California Integral Institute of Integral Studies, I then became certified as like a psychedelic guide and learning about psychedelic therapies. And there you really understand all these different medicines and how they can be truly healing for the mind, the body, the spirit, how they help us process emotions. And that has really helped solidify my healing journey with my colitis. Because going through these experiences and crying and shedding and detoxing and cleansing, all the experiences that I was holding on to that have hurt me, it's really helped change my stomach and made it so much more normal than ever.
Yeah, it's amazing that, no surgeries were needed at all. I had doctors tell me that I can conceive a child. These kinds of things, they're possible so long as we get out of our own way, right? And I think that's what you're saying there. Is like the body is so intelligent. It already has programmed into it everything that we need. There's amazing studies coming out with Bruce Lipton with epigenetics and things like that, where it's saying that we're responsible for whether or not we turn them on or off. Yeah, environmental toxins, yeah, genes, yeah, whatever, but ultimately it's us. It's what we're choosing to put in our body. It's what we're choosing to hold on to. It's what we're choosing to surround ourselves with. And I think you've done a really amazing job so far at doing the introspective work and figuring out, this is working for me, this is not. This is where I want to be. This is what sucks.
You can let go of this.
Yeah. Just let it go. So are you still using the journal work today? Have you developed this practice anymore into the releasing?
So you asked about journey work?
Journaling. Journey work too. Of course I want to hear about that, Elsa.
Yes. So journaling, it's interesting. So when I first did that ceremony where I wrote a letter, And then after I wrote this letter, I spoke it out loud, I read it out loud, and then I burned it. But since then, I would say that I do journal. I think it's a really important piece of emotional digestion. When I'm feeling scattered, when I'm feeling stressed or overwhelmed, there's many techniques to use, right? Breath work and exercise and deep breathing and all of those things. But journaling, I really like to process, to organize thoughts, to really let go of stuff that I might be holding on to. And I try to do that whenever I feel the call.
I like that intuitive journaling.
Yes, yes. Well, and I've learned, Ashley, I've gone from black and white thinking. It's all or nothing, right? If you're not, go big or go home is kind of how I've always thought. And don't get me wrong, there are times where I still feel this way. But I'm learning how to reel that back and see the gray, see all the different shades, and be open to all parts of that spectrum, and maybe have more balance where it's not all or nothing. It's more of when it feels good for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the journey work, psychedelics, this is the integration station. There's tons of integration tools, but it starts with the experience. And there's different experiences we have. The psychedelic experience I always feel is like many many lifetimes can fit into one ceremony. So
Yeah.
I love that you found your way in holistic health. You found it with these alternative therapies, with nutrition, and then psychedelics called out to you. Tell me some more about that, about your own journeys, about how they've helped you in your life, and then we'll dig in a little bit more, because I've got a lot of questions around here.
So let's see, how do I begin? I would say in the beginning, I first used psychedelics recreationally. I had no idea what I was doing. It was just for fun. And then I started using them more intentionally. I would be in the woods, literally in like a national forest, at a campground, or by a river. And I started having pretty big experiences every 3 to 6 months or so, for a little bit of time. And when I was up there, I really started to see the trees differently. I really started to see nature differently. I started to finally feel connected to the earth in a way that I was unaware of before. And I remember standing with these huge, huge trees, just looking at them with such awe and such wonder, and going, wow, you help me be here. Like, we are connected. I am you and you are me. And I just started having these experiences that really started to shift my consciousness, shift my awareness, and really see the harmony between nature and me and nature, and how there really isn't a separation there. It's only the separation that I think is there. And so that was incredible. And I've journaled, I've journaled a lot in those experiences, and it's really interesting to see what has blossomed from those journeys. But a lot of it, I would say, is just this, oh, wow, pure respect and reverence to nature is really what started this. And looking up and seeing the birds and how they were working and gathering things and eating and walking, I was just like, wow, like look at them go and do what they need to do. And I've been so in my head for so many years, I'm not even paying attention to how incredible they are in front of me. I've been so caught up in my own hurt and my own misery and my own unworthiness and everything else, my own anxieties. It just was almost like a relief of like, wow, I don't need to be in my head. I can be right here with the birds. And that was really something. It was really beautiful and scary at times. Through some of those big experiences, I'd be walking through the woods, Ashley, and I remember the first time I saw a huge gardener snake, and it was a female, and she was coming towards me. And, the person I was with, they saw it also. So I know I wasn't just hallucinating. But it came towards me and I screamed, okay, bloody murder. I start sprinting the opposite direction. And that's how I felt about a lot of things in my life, a lot of things in the world, a lot of things about myself. And then as I did it a little bit more and a little bit more, I saw a snake again. But my response to it wasn't, run away or kill it. It was, hey, I think you're saying hi to me. I think I'm trying to say hi to myself. It started to really become this experience where I was realizing that I was afraid of me. I was afraid of nature. I was afraid of a lot that, I wasn't taught about growing up. I was afraid, I think, of this connection. And so then I had another experience and I saw another snake, but it was even smaller than the last and the last. It was as if, it was just, to me, it was very divine. And I kept seeing a smaller and smaller snake to the point where when I did see it, I was like, oh, hey, friend. What a shift in awareness of run, fear, panic, kill it, to it's going to attack me because of it's unknown to me, to, oh, hello, brother or sister. Continue doing what you need to do. I'll continue doing what I need to do. And we can both cohabitat here. We can have a cohabitat here. We can coexist here. And I don't need to feel threatened, and I won't threaten you. That was a pretty big shift, Ashley, in my thinking. That was in the beginning, those were big experiences for me, and what I needed. And then that led to the program that I did, which when I was in California, we're all sitting in this, classroom, and Dr. Bill Richards, I'm sure you know Dr. Bill Richards, incredible scientist and psychiatrist. He's explaining PTSD, and I'm just sitting in the back with tears running down my eyes going, I am experiencing symptoms of PTSD. I've been experiencing symptoms of PTSD my whole life, and I had no idea. And I realized I was exactly where I needed to be, and I learned how to work with psilocybin, these beautiful mushrooms, in a clinical way, in a healing way to heal PTSD. And so I went to work. After, that program, I went to work on myself, and I used these mushrooms every week for months, and had a little ceremony with myself and cried every week, healing, facing things that I didn't know I needed to face about my childhood, about my perspectives. And it took months. But I remember afterwards, friends kind of going, I don't know if you should be doing this so much. You're really different. You're so much calmer. I'm like, yeah, that's the point. That is the point. And I listened to myself when I was ready to not do it anymore or slow down. I did. And then that's when I got the call to do Aya. and the timing was right, and I started learning about ayahuasca in my program and learning more about how it can possibly work on our genetics and how it can heal intergenerational trauma. And I was intrigued. I was very intrigued. And she was calling to me, I would say maybe a year or two prior to that, but I wasn't ready at all. So after working with, psilocybin for a while, I then finally felt, okay, I'm ready to do this. I went down there, and I mean, those experiences were difficult and delicious, so delicious. But I think because I did so much work prior to going, because there were a lot of people around me that didn't do prior work, and it was not that type of experience for them. I remember having one ceremony and just being like in awe, tears of joy running down and smiling, and just like, this is wow. And then the woman next to me was in hell and I was in heaven. And she afterwards was like, how are you in this space? And I'm like, well, I've worked on this in this space a while prior to coming. And I think it really helped, but it wasn't all that. It was a mix of things. And I would say that was really all about, again, working on my stomach and the function of my stomach. I developed so much shame around my stomach. I developed so much shame growing up around sexuality, around being female, around who I was. And so it really helped uncover that, show that, highlight it. And it gave me really good key messages to take away and kind of chew on and integrate. And, I know we talked not too shortly after that first one, or really it was my second weekend in April. But I would say that the biggest message in that one, that first weekend, was to not be afraid to do what you're passionate about, to speak your truth, to not be ashamed of your body, to not be ashamed of how it works and how it might work differently than other people. Don't be afraid or ashamed to be human, and I would say those are the biggest things. And I went there looking for answers for my career, and it really just said, hey, don't be afraid to work with psychedelics. Like, be okay with doing group healings and facilitating ceremonies and supporting people on these journeys, and educating people gently on this information and helping them. Don't be so afraid. So that was big. And then when I came back, though, my whole life changed, Ashley, when I came back, because I was with a partner for almost 6 years. I mean, I was so in love with him, and we had a really good relationship. But when I came back, I started seeing that we wanted different things, and I was holding on to it. I was holding on to it, hoping that he would want what I wanted one day. And I think I knew deep down, she showed me that I shouldn't wait anymore, and that I should choose myself and figure out what I need and what I want, and to stop settling. And I hate to say that, because he is such an amazing human. I wasn't settling, but so amazing. I mean, I still have so much love, for this person. But I mean, ayahuasca said, you need to choose yourself, and you need to choose yourself now. This is the time. You have to let go. You have to be on your own, because this person doesn't want what you want, and that's it. And it was really hard. So after 5.5 years, I left. I moved into my own apartment, and I started to rebuild myself again. And that was really hard. That's one of the hardest things I've ever done. And I still am doing it now. Over a year and a half later, that was really hard. And there has been times, many times, where I go, I kind of sit in a little bit of regret, but then I work through it, and I journal about it, and I meditate on it, and I go to therapy, and I have community, and I realize that I chose myself. I have to trust myself in that moment and trust that I am where I am supposed to be. And I am really happy because, as you know, I'm not in the city anymore, and I'm in nature, and that's what I've wanted for so long. But it was not easy. There was so much shame coming up around leaving, and how could I leave something that's good? How could I leave something that is, good?
It's the path itself. It is hard. Letting go is hard. We do this thing called the Trinity text, me and clients, for anybody who doesn't know or hasn't experienced this. And one of the first things we do is let go of the fears, the false evidence that appears real. Then we let go of the ands, those automatic negative thoughts that are going through our head, like, oh, I can't do this, or I'm lonely, or whatever. It's like, I am are the most powerful words. If you're associating that with the fear, then that means you're making decisions out of fear instead of passion. That's not, that might lead to an all right life, to an okay life, but that's not to the best life. That's not towards your highest potential. That's not towards real, true happiness or real, true health, or anything close to what you're meant to, what you're actually here for. And it sounds like you found that, and it sounds like on some levels you've really experienced that dark night of the soul, but you've also been allowed that opportunity to see the light, to experience what potential actually feels like, to be in that space. And for so many of us, that's enough to keep moving towards a direction that may even be unclear, or because it's not paved. We're the ones doing the hard work. We're the ones doing the paving, and it's like, oh man, there's dust everywhere. But once we get it, once the dust settles, once we cry, right, the rain, once all that's there, then it's clear again. Then we can look back and be proud of that, which I'm not saying that you want to live in a place of pride either. There's a humble balance there, but you get those moments of being able to reward yourself, seeing work that's already been done. It is a reward along the way. I think the whole point of any of this is just learning how to ride the wave through the ups and the downs, and still know that no matter what, we're reaching this ultimate destination. Destination is probably not the best word because there's multiple of them, but you start with one destination, then it's another destination, and it's enjoying the ride along the way, which ships like the yin yang teaching.
Absolutely. Dark night of the soul, absolutely. I would say that's what last year was for me, for sure. But like you said, it is about riding the waves and going through the ups and downs and learning how to respond to them and react to them. Be in a place of somewhat balance as much as you can.
Yeah. And part of that is being the observer too, of when you're in the dark, being able to find the light. When you're in the light, knowing that there's still a little bit of dark, and learning how to be okay with that, bring more love to it. There's a book by Lisa Lister. I'm not sure if we've ever talked about this, you and I, before, but it's titled Witch. just witch, really easy. And Lisa Lister, amazing writer, especially for women, women empowerment, women's health, and she's all natural, doing her witchy thing. And this book, it changed me in so many ways. And I got the audio version. I've listened to it a million, uh, well, maybe not a million times. I'm definitely exaggerating, but I've at least listened to it like 3 to 5 times through front to back, and it's great. And I'm going to get the paperback and actually highlight through it some of the stuff to make affirmations for the community here, because it's just so powerful and a lot of what you're talking about today. And she's somebody who worked with a lot of the medicines as well, much like us. I think she might even be our trifecta once you because she's been these places, and she's gone against the patriarch. A lot of her thing is talking about the patriarch, and you bringing up your relationship here and wanting different types of things. Yeah, life could have been good, but you're meant for more. Being a healer in this space, which is mainly man dominated, even chiropractor and acupuncture, they're both still mainly man dominant. And so it just brings this peace to women to know that that there's these things from our ancestors that we need to release. It's not all our stuff. Some of this anger, some of this confusion is because it's not us or from us. It's from a past version of ourselves that's still programmed into our DNA. And that one of the best ways that we can release this is through journaling, so that there's a type of understanding. It's through crying, through wailing. My mentor, Dr. Dan, his partner, Sonia, she talks about this primordial wailing, like just getting it all out. Me, I just got a husky puppy. I'm all about the howl. Like, let's howl at the moon. Let's align with the moon, right? Yeah. Call in the wolf pack for miles around, and work it through it in community is one of my inspirations for hosting this podcast, introducing each of you to each other in this way where, I get to be in my genius of one-on-one, but also you guys get this opportunity to share your stories, and work on allowing that little voice to be big and be heard. So she, in the book, Lisa Lister talks a lot about that. When she started doing dream work and working with the medicines, a thing that she kept seeing was her tongue being cut out. And she's like, even though it's not her that had her tongue cut out, she realized and saw the fractal of all the areas in her life where she was quiet. She was quiet in her relationship. She was quiet in her first career. She was quiet. And once she was able to find her voice, now she's like this amazing author in this niche market that still doesn't get enough respect that it's due. And yeah, I really recommend it. I really recommend her, and I think it would be an asset.
Okay, absolutely. I definitely will check her out. And it's interesting that you bring her up, and her book is called Witch, because in one of my experiences, I had what you would call a bad experience or an educational experience, depending on who you talk to. But what I feel had happened was that I had a realization that at some point in my ancestors, or I was feeling a collective energy or emotion with specific women who were being hunted and burned for their practice in natural medicine and psychedelic plants. And it made me realize that in that moment, from the outside looking into this world, into this sphere of natural medicine, of herbs, of psychedelic therapy, from the outside, it could look very weird and it could trigger fear And fear can trigger violence because people are afraid of what they don't know. And it made me realize, as I've been continuing to do research in shamanism, especially with females in shamanism and everything else, and where we are now, kind of in this patriarchal society, how we have come from a place where women were leading medicine and religious ceremony and community gatherings while the men were supporting the women and making sure that everyone had food and protection. I would say that just the experience that I had, it opened up my mind to a history that I was never taught. It opened up my perspective. And so now that I'm doing this research, I see more and more how things have shifted to focus on profit rather than on people. And I think that's where this medicine can be really helpful, because looking back on all these different cultures and tribes and different ways of being, you don't see the mental health crisis that we're now facing. And so through my bad experience, or my educational experience, which it was a lot, to deal with. But once I really integrated it and understood a little bit more, it's really helped me feel what it would feel like to be a woman who is being targeted, trying to help people naturally.
I think in a lot of ways our system's still set up that way. It's just that we've been programmed through the generations to not see it that way, which is part of the oppression.
Right.
And it's part of the dumbing down of society. Meanwhile, once we start working with these medicines again, we remember. That's what they are. They're tools to remember. There's a reason why mushrooms specifically were demonized. Like somehow, some way, like cannabis can grow everywhere, but it doesn't anymore. Somehow that kind of ended. But mushrooms, it didn't. You can still go and get them out of the ditches in British Columbia, or from fields in Australia, or anywhere in South America, really. They grow all over the world in abundance. But what they did was demonize it. Oh, it's really, really scary. They're going to make you die. There's lookalikes. It's poison. And that's what happened in so many areas when it comes to childbirth. It's fear. Get rid of the midwives. Get rid of the home births. Come in, let's do a surgery, C-section. When hospitals are great for emergency.
Yes. Yes.
It's set up perfect for that. But to take out all the women, all the people of color, and make it mandatory that you do one way of testing and that you use this one form of medicine, that's wrong, and it doesn't work. And no matter how much it gets normalized, there's enough of us, I think, that that understand and are remembering that we're still winning. We're still ahead. We always feel like, oh man, we're behind. There's so many people ahead of me. It's like, thank God, because now you get to learn from every single one of those guys, and where they fell short. We get to learn from history. That was another thing in the book. It's his story. But then what about her story? What about our collective story? Sure, there's his story, but who cares? Let's release that in a burning ceremony. Take our history textbook. I actually loved my history teacher in high school so much. He's passed away now, but I loved him, and there wasn't too much I liked about high school. But there was just the way that he did it. He pretty much told us that everything's bullshit. Like, one of my favorite religion teachers was the one that said everything's bullshit. It's just a made up story. Those were the people that held on to me and helped like shape my mind to know that to keep it open,
To keep it.
not like everybody else telling me I'm wrong, I'm bad for not following it to the T. So I love this. I love you. I love everything that you're saying. I feel like we could talk for forever. We do. We'll do it again soon.
Okay.
Sooner than later.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess I got a couple of last questions and I'll let you go because I know you're
Okay.
on a time limit here. First, what piece of advice do you have for anybody here that's maybe just starting this journey?
Don't expect to get what you want. You're not going to get what you want. You're going to get what you need. And sometimes that's hard to accept or embrace. But with integration, you will understand and make more meaning as to why you get what you need. And sometimes getting what you need is exactly what you want. And it's beautiful and it's blissful, but not always. So there's so much literature out there talking about how beneficial and how positive an experience you can have on these medicines. And yes, you can. However, in order for you to get to positive experiences, you have to go through negative experiences that you might not want to be facing. You might have to go through negative feelings like grief and sadness and sorrow and frustration that you maybe not have felt in your childhood or younger experiences that your body needs to process. It needs to help you release those things through feeling them and allowing yourself to shed those things. But the only way to do that is through it. And so I would say that's the biggest thing, is to release all expectations and to embrace that you will get what you need, not so much what you want. And integration is the most important step. The medicine is a tool, it's a technology, it's incredible for us. However, we have to do the work. Once you have these experiences, life doesn't become perfect. Life isn't easier because you've had these experiences. Like Ashley, you were saying, we're just able to ride the wave and not get hit so hard and fall over and drown and we're feeling like we're treading water. Now you're riding the waves and you can fall down and you go, okay, I know what it's like to be here. I'm okay with here. I'm all right. I know that I'll be up again. And you're able to be more resilient. You're able to see things.
Wait for your wave.
Exactly. So I would say that's the biggest advice, is make sure that you integrate, understand that these are a tool and they are sacrament, they are sacred, and that it's not going to become easier once you do them. It's just you will learn how to manage life and your reactions and yourself in a way that maybe feels better, possibly, right? But that would be it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was reminded of what you had mentioned about Aya's ceremony, where you had the woman beside you that was going through hell and you were experiencing heaven at the same time. And I was remembering how much of a fractal effect that is. We are all one. You were there experiencing that hell before. It was just a reminder for yourself that there is also heaven. And you've got to do the work, and you got to be patient, and you have to be persistent. There's a lot of great P and R words. Let's get a dictionary out one day.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And seek guidance, right? To make sure you're seeking guidance. You know, we all can use mentors and guides and people that can support us along the way. You know, no one is too good for support and community. Like, we all need that. I think that's really important. Um, I think coming from a Latina background, you know, I grew up thinking that it's not okay to ask for help. You do not ask for help. You don't go to therapy. You work on it, you tough it out. And I had to shed all of that to be able to call you, Ashley, after my April ceremony and text you and be like, I need help. I need help. You know, I'm going through
What is a soul?
like, I please. And so I've learned to practice that. You know, this medicine has really taught me the power of vulnerability.
Yeah, and it's humbling. This medicine is humbling. Right when we think we got it all together, life tests us, and it tests us because we're ready to face it. You know, it's the truth is we are ready, but that doesn't mean it's an easy ride. You know, you just got it. It's you who decides. Is it going to be easy, or are you going to fall off, and you know, and make that mistake again?
Yeah.
Or are you going to be a little more patient and persistent and wait for the good wave to come, and you ride that high even further than you did before?
Right.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and I'll make sure that I post all of your contact information here for anyone who wants to get in touch with you. I really recommend anybody here listening that resonated with Cresencia, Dr. Felty here, please reach out to this woman. She's amazing and will definitely help you on your self-healing journey. Great asset.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Bye, love.